What's going on, everybody? TJ here from TJ's Take. We've got some Thursday night football tonight between the Philadelphia Eagles. They're visiting the Green Bay Packers. I think this is going to be a fun one. More offense than we've seen in a lot of these single games, hopefully. Um, I think this game will kind of tell us how the Packers are actually going to be this season and how good they really are. Uh, it's kind of hard to tell. Week one is week one. Obviously, you can't judge a team off of week one. And they played one of the toughest defenses in the NFL. They also had to take on the Vikings and Denver, so I haven't really played an easy defense. Aaron Rodgers has just been okay so far. So I don't know if that's just tough defenses, if he just doesn't have the good enough targets, if Valdez-Scantling and Allison just aren't very good. Um, I think we'll just kind of see there. On the Eagles side, Carson Wentz, everybody loves to hate him for some reason. He is a great DFS player. I don't see him not being in this top five tonight. The guy's just he scored 20 every game so far. Completion percentage could be a lot better, but I think he's going to crack the top five. I don't see any other way around it. Contest wise, we have the 200,000 to first over on FanDuel. Again, a bunch of different contests over that way. But yeah, this one just seems to be. I think it's going to be a lot of offense. And like we saw, so we need to remember when we make these single games, you need to play in situations. And when I say that is, I'm not going to go play Carson Wentz in my top spot and then throw the running back and the kicker in there with him. I'm going to throw him up there and put his targets in there. And if I don't think there's going to be a lot of scoring through the air, I'm going to go plug running backs with kickers, if that makes sense. So this game, I see a lot through the air. So if I'm plugging Carson Wentz in that top spot, I'm going to put at least two of his targets in those flex spots. With this game, I do expect a lot of offense, but we have to remember this Green Bay defense is a lot better. Philly's defense is pretty good, and the Packers' offense has a huge question mark on it. We don't know how good they actually are. I mean, it could be low scoring, and I think nobody's going to go after these kickers because they think the same way I do, and they think this is going to be a shootout. So I mean, prime spot maybe if you're making quite a few lineups to throw these kickers in at very low ownership. One's 9,500, one's 8,500. So a lot of flexibility fitting them into lineups, and a lot of guys around their same price. Miles Sanders 10,000, Jordan Howard 9,000, Jamal Williams 9,000. These are a lot of skill positions. Mac Hollins, Geronimo Allison right under him. A lot of skill positions that a lot of people are going to be taking over these guys. And it doesn't take a lot for a kicker to get over one of these guys like Jordan Howard, who might go a little lower on because, doesn't see a ton of touches. But Jamal Williams, they came out and said he's going to be splitting most of the touches with Aaron Jones. So I see a lot of people going there. A simple fade is just plugging in one of those kickers instead, and it could make or break your lineup, and it could separate you from the field. Other than that, we can just jump right into making some lineups. I'll go over some cheap options first and some sneaky guys that you might not have been thinking about going into this game. Just starting from the bottom here. Corey Clement looks like he's actually going to play. I don't think he's going to get a ton of touches, but interesting down there. With the questionable tag, should be very low owned. Allen Lazard, I think they threw to him once last week. Don't know. Okay, so Jake Camaro, if he doesn't play, then that's when this Lazard gets in. So Camaro was hurt last week. I don't really think we need to worry about him. Just something to think about if you really want to take a punt. This Robert Tonyan, so last year, he's a tight end for the Packers. Last year in one of these single games, he was 0.1% owned in one of these single games, and Aaron Rodgers, they had a play between them two at the very beginning of the game, worked perfectly. This guy went deep as a tight end, and Aaron Rodgers found him in the end zone, and he was in the top lineup. And I think if you had him, I mean, you at least won $1,000. I mean, the top guys was sitting there all alone because at 0.1% ownership, you can make your lineup super unique. And yeah, I mean, again, they probably not going to get a lot, but it seems like, I mean, I know there's a coaching change, so maybe that play's not in the playbook anymore, but this guy does still get some touches, if not more touches than he was last year. He got 3 targets last week, nothing against the Vikings. So I don't know if he just wasn't playing, he was hurt or what. Chicago, he had 1 target for 1 reception. That was a 28-yarder. So someone to definitely think about that could be very, very low on that can help you win this 200,000. Mercedes Lewis, another tight end Green Bay has. Got a lot of these tight ends, but still old guy, but they still do like to target him. They like to play him. Because, I mean, Jimmy Graham hasn't really seen many touches at all other than that Bears game where he caught a touchdown pass. Dallas Goedert, probably going to be the most popular $5,000 guy, tight end for Philly. Been hurt a little bit this season, but an end zone target for them for sure. Let's see, other cheap guys. Jimmy Graham is down there. Darren Sproles is down there. Other than that, let's jump right into it. So like I said, I love the offense tonight, and I don't see any way Carson Wentz doesn't hit this top 5, and I really like him for the captain spot tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and plug him in there first. And I like coming down and see, this is interesting where we hit these 3 receivers right in a row. Aguilar at 12.5, Alshon at 12, and Zach Ertz at 11.5. I think Ertz and Aguilar should actually be flip-flopped there, especially with Alshon Jeffrey being back. He's been hurt. So I do like Aguilar's price because I do think he should be cheaper. And I think with Alshon being back, Aguilar will garner less ownership. So let's go ahead and plug Aguilar in there at 12.5 because I think people will think he's too higher priced. And I think most people would be more likely to go to Ertz at 11.5 for $1,000 cheaper. So let's go ahead and plug Aguilar in there. Again, I think it's an offensive battle. I'm going to go ahead and plug Aaron Rodgers in there. Let's get another one of Wentz's targets. Let's come down and get Mack Hollins. So Mack Hollins is moved to pretty much number 4 target with Alshon Jeffrey back. But we don't know how healthy Alshon is. Mack Hollins is still going to be out there with Deshaun Jackson out. So I do like the Mack Hollins play at low ownership tonight. And that leaves us $10,000 to play with. Aaron Rodgers, we could go with Jamal Adams here at $9,000, but I think we can go with a more traditional target for Aaron Rodgers in case there's a deep ball. Again, Jimmy Graham he just hasn't been very active in this offense the past couple weeks. So I think I can go Geronimo Allison. He hasn't been the greatest this year either, but I mean, Aaron Rodgers has very few options to really throw the ball to. And Geronimo Allison is going to have a game sooner or later with this Green Bay offense. So why not tonight? That leaves us $3,000. I love that build. I think you're sneaky enough. I think you're leaving enough salary on a slate where this is tough. I mean, this is probably the toughest one yet that we've had when it comes to leaving salary. Just because all these guys are good and the top talent guys. This isn't like the Bears game last week where we saw a lot of guys who anybody can really do anything. Like Taylor Gabriel was the guy of the night. Just because they don't really have their guy. They don't have their go-to guy, so Taylor Gabriel stepped up for him. These teams have their guys. They have Davante Adams. They have Zach Ertz and Alshon Jeffries. So they don't need to try and win with, 2 and 3 receivers who you don't know their name. These 2 and 3 receivers, you know who they are. So that's one option. Another way we can go with this, let's go ahead. Davante Adams is going to have a game here sooner or later where he just goes nuts, him and Rodgers together. So let's go ahead and plug him up there, followed by Aaron Rodgers. And again, I don't see Wentz not making this top 5. So I'm going to plug him in there with I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back to Mac Hollins just so I can see what we can do. So that leaves us 8-5. So I think you can come down to Allison, Jimmy Graham, or a Tanyan. A Tanyan, this would be a perfect spot for him because I could see people making this build for sure, but I think they're going to fill it in with Jimmy Graham. They're going to fill it in with, maybe even a Sproles. I mean, Jake Elliott's the kicker up there. Why not throw Tanyan in there? Why not throw a Mercedes Lewis in there? If you don't think they can score more points than a Geronimo Allison or a Jimmy Graham, I think they definitely can. The only thing that scares me is Jake Elliott. But again, if you don't think there's going to be many field goals, let's say all Philly does is Wentz to Hollins, and I mean, Jake Elliott gets 1 point there, and maybe one field goal afterwards. He only gets 4 points. I mean, it's only 50 yards for one of these wide receivers, so I think you can definitely do that. I like that a lot, plugging Tanyan in there. You can even plug Godaire in there, still leave 3,500. I mean, it could very well happen that Aaron Rodgers only gets most of his points or these Green Bay Packers, most of their points only come between Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams. Sorry, having an earthquake down here. Now, let's make one with these kickers, like I said earlier, just because they're going to be so low owned. And this could be a sneaky defensive game for sure, sneaky low scoring. So let's go ahead and plug Crosby and Elliott in, and let's just start from there. Not in the top spot, but in the flex spots. And let's see what our favorite builds are from there. So I'm going to go Carson Wentz again, but again, you can flip-flop these lineups any way you want to. So we've got Wentz, Crosby, Jake Elliott, and let's go get a couple of Wentz targets here. So let's go ahead and get Zach Ertz, and that leaves us 16,000 remaining. See, just by plugging those kickers in, you can get anybody you want to. So I said 2 of Wentz's targets, but we don't necessarily need to do that since we have both kickers. So we're thinking it's going to be low scoring. So maybe that's the only touchdown, or the only 2 touchdowns, is Wentz to Zach Ertz. So flip-flopping Ertz for Wentz might be a smart thing if you're going to play both kickers. But if you see Wentz can get points with his legs too, Ertz doesn't get many yards, he just catches a touchdown, you can leave it like that. So just things to think about when you're making your lineups. Make them situational. I like coming here and getting an Aguilar. That still leaves you 3,500. You get both kickers. But Green Bay has to get in field goal range somehow. I mean, if their defense does it, sure, Mason Crosby is fine. You don't need to plug another Green Bay guy in there. But, I mean, I don't see Aaron Rodgers doing absolutely nothing here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab one of his targets and grab Davante Adams, and we leave $2,000 on the table. So we have Wentz, both kickers, Ertz, and then Davante Adams. I like that. The only thing that bothers me is we have 2 of the most popular targets with both kickers. So I think this is definitely going to be a build people will have, because people will think the same way as me. If the kickers go off, they're going to have these 2 guys. So let's take Ertz and Adams out, and let's just go ahead with number 2 targets. Let's put Valdez-Scantling in there. Let's put Alshon Jeffrey or Aguilar. It doesn't matter. If you plug Alshon in there, you're leaving $4,500. I love that build. If we don't trust Scantling, take him out. I like plugging Jamal Williams in there. I think he could get more points than a lot of people on this Green Bay team. He leaves $6,500 on the table if you do that. Really unique build for a matchup like this. So other than that, I think that pretty much kind of sums up this game. We have a good core group of guys who, I mean, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We have 15 guys here that are more likely than not going to score more points than all of these cheap guys. This isn't like that Bears game where the 6,000 guys can very, very easily score more than a guy who's $11,000. This just isn't that type of game. These are 2 good offenses with really good offensive players. So I think the key here is mixing up that five, leaving salary as much as possible, and trying to sneak, into the 3,000, 4,000 range. But I think that top lineup at most might only leave $2,500 salary in this one. So just kind of be creative up top in your MVP spots. Fit those kickers in. You don't need to play both kickers. Playing one kicker, I think, is very tricky and a very good move tonight. Um, Other than that, if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. You can talk to us on Twitter. If you have any questions about basketball coming up, um, we'll answer all those. We'll be doing podcasts for those. Baseball is still going on. We're entering the postseason, and I'll start making some videos for some single games for MLB postseason during the week when football's not on. Those are a blast, and those are huge, huge prize pools as well, especially when we have the World Series. So other than that, go out there and win some money, and have a good one.